非常欢迎大家来参加这一堂比较是学术性的发表。那今天呢我们有2篇比较学术性的发表。那接着我们要请那个清华大学的张宝玉教授，他这次的研究是有关S2 的课程对台湾教师的发展，跟他的生涯的发展，跟他的专业的发展。那现在我们请那个宝玉老师，这是一个执行研究。那宝玉老师现在任职于清华大学的外文系，是吧 ？OK， 他在外文系大概教了10几年，然后他在英语教学上面是有很深刻的探讨。那现在我们邀请那个宝玉老师来对他的研究进行分享，谢谢大家。
Thank you very much. I'm going to speak in English because I'm not Taiwanese actually. I'm from Thailand. That's my Thai name, Wipawi Yongpumibit. But I'm also an overseas Chinese, so my Chinese name is Zhang Baoyu. Now before I start my talk, may I have you guys raise your hand if you teach English. How many English teachers do we have in this classroom? Only, okay, quite a few, that's good. So, because the thing is, I first encountered S2 in July last year, and it was a really difficult 5 days for me. It doesn't matter that I have a degree in language teaching and I've taught English for the past 20 years. Didn't matter. S2 was really new, and it got me to think about many things that I haven't thought about even when I was studying for the TESOL program. So that's why I became interested in the role of S2 on Taiwanese English teachers' development and their sense of professionalism. I'll tell you more why exactly I want to look at professionalism. But right now, let's establish a common ground that to make Taiwan's bilingual nation policy come true, we need a whole lot of professional English teachers. This is a country where we have limited English input, limited English class time, and yet English teachers are expected to cover so many things and help students pass tests and enable people to get high test scores. So teachers are at the forefront of the uphill battle to improve Taiwanese students' English language proficiency. The question is, what does it mean? What is the meaning of English proficiency? And so, as I said, we have a really high demand right now for professional English teacher. But what is the meaning of a professional English teacher? So what does it mean to be a professional English teacher? Now, these are the Western literature that I've read because I cannot read Chinese. So Wright, 2010, said that professionalism involves teachers' reflective practice, content and pedagogical knowledge, and continuous learning from their own social context. Turner, 2006, expanded the definition of English teachers' professionalism to the synchronization of curriculum, teaching, and assessment. And Mann, in a review paper in 2005, said that successful continuing professional development, or CPD, for in-service teachers depends on the teacher's own willingness to undertake such programs. And this concept relates to teachers' self-direction and autonomy. And you see in my results that these are the concepts that would be mentioned again and again in the data that I have. Okay, so this slide is a really strange slide because it's supposed to be about S2, but all of the literature in S2 is in Chinese, and this is the result of ChatGPT translation for me. So please forgive me if I got the information wrong. But so Professor Lu has developed a system of standard-based curriculum design of S2, right? With the aim of reducing teachers' over-reliance on textbooks and enhancing teachers' autonomy. So it was developed for competency-based education, or as you guys call it, 素养教育. And S2 is supposed to be used by teachers of all disciplines and all levels of education. It has 5 operational stages. For those of you who have seen the 特色学院, you've seen this. We are forced to go through all the stages. And in my presentation today, I'd like to focus especially on the very first stage, which is the 解决核心知识 part. Right, so we claim that by following the 5 stages of S2, teachers can create interconnected, meaningful, and rigorous teaching units that promote students' learning and stay connected to the national curriculum guidelines. And she has conducted a study that was included in her Orange book, where she interviewed a junior high school teacher and who confirmed that S2 was influential, it was positive for her. But to date, no research on S2 has been done exclusively on in-service EFL teachers in Taiwan. And so the aim of this paper is to establish a connection between the S2 system and EFL teachers' development of professionalism. I only have one research question, which is, how has the experience of course design through S2 strengthened Taiwanese EFL teachers' sense of professionalism? I have the target participant would be the S2 master teachers who are English teachers. So these would be the people who have helped other teachers like myself in going through the S2 3 days or 5 day trainings. I call them mentors. And my target participant would be only 5 people that I know. But for this presentation, so far this research project has just been started, so I've only interviewed 1 participant so far. And method is, what I use is called phenomenology interview. So what does that mean? So according to Creswell and Paus, 2017, this is a really good book about qualitative research. Phenomenology interviews are qualitative research method that is used to explore how individuals perceive and interpret their lived experiences and gain insight into the meaning and essence of that particular phenomenon. So in this research, S2 use is the phenomenon. So I interview the master teachers to see how the use of S2 and also the teaching of other people to use S2, how they interpret this experience. So it was a series of semi-structured interview where the teacher would express their experiences, thoughts, and emotion. And the questions are open-ended, where the teachers are expected to give me rich and detailed descriptions of their experiences, and my job as the data analyst is to look for common themes, patterns, and meanings that emerged from the narrative. So this is the research methodology. As I said, I only had 1 participant at this stage. She is a senior high school English teacher with almost 20 years of teaching experience. She has a master's degree in literature with a teacher certificate, 教育学程. She's teaching in a big school, but is in a small town. And her students are not very academically competitive. Typically, the class size is 34 to 40 people with more than 11 hours of teaching per week. Most importantly, she had never received any formal training in course design, in second language acquisition, or in TEFL. She first learned about S2 in 2017 through a project by Professor Wright at that time, which was called 示范学校. So her school was one of the 示范学校. And after knowing that, after having learned about S2 in that experience in 2017, she has served as S2 master teacher and has presented her teaching units as S2 conference several times, like this one. I have 3 findings. The first finding is, S2 leads to a true understanding of the national curriculum guidelines. According to the national curriculum guidelines, or you guys, I cannot read this much, but you know, I'm talking about what you guys always call lingua, right? So I call this national curriculum guideline. We have 学习重点, which is the learning focus is divided into 2 parts, right? So you have the 学习表现 and 学习内容, the learning performances and the learning content. At first glance, I'm going to go ahead and just go through all these sections. It looks like a very detailed document, right? 学习表现 has 9 categories. 学习目标 have 4 categories. One would think that having so much detail like this would enable an English teacher to teach very well. So I asked her, 老师你不觉得很棒吗？这么详细 And she said, 一点都不棒 Why? Because despite the detailed categories, we have a problem. I need somebody to help me read. Can I ask you to help me read? You don't have to stand up. Can you help me like this? Yeah. Can you help me read the Chinese from the 如果我要 Can you see that?
好，如果我要教学习内容是第4类的第一部分，我要教逻辑思考能力，我很有兴趣教这一个。可是我的课本里面完全不是这个，我想教 fact opinion， 我想教 compare contrast、problem solution、critical thinking， 可是课本完全没有这些。他的文章里面可能这一课可能是 compare contrast， 可是他并不会去强调 compare contrast， 文章可能是 compare contrast， 课本也会讲一下 compare contrast， 可是我认为那个不是很好的切入点，我会比较想要教Venn diagram， 然后这样学生不论读到什么文章，他只会 Venn diagram， 他就会知道去做 reading comprehension。Thank
you. So despite the long list of things that are written, they're all very abstract, right? So at this point, she thinks that unlike the other discipline, English doesn't have clear knowledge that she can grasp to design a lesson, and this is the main point. Can you help me again? Thank you.
目前的各科的领纲来说，社会科的领纲写得很不错，自然科的也很不错，因为他们都是 content based， 所以很清楚，先来力学再来电池。但是英文领纲在所有领纲里面比较算是比较 verge 了一点，所以英文老师就会非常痛苦，都不知道要教什么。我是语言老师的话，我会希望知道比如说文体以 writing 来说，是不是教议论文、说明文等等，我会比较期待我如果教说明文的时候，我应该要教什么。可是完全这些字没有出现在领纲里面。
Thank you. So I hope that the problem she has expressed sounds familiar to you guys teaching English here in Taiwan. So she said that when she was serving as a mentor to teach people to use the S2, she said that 通常理科的老师 when they reach the 原理原则 part, it will be quite easy for them to go through pretty quickly because the knowledge, the 部分 already 完整 and they just have to go through the things step by step from maybe 浅到深. But English teachers cannot do that because when you look at the textbook, it doesn't point to any part at all of the very, very detailed 领纲 that you get. So this leads to a very big frustration. But the thing is, she said that the thing that saved her is what professors would call 纵向分析, and I translate in English as S2 vertical analysis. This to her leads to a real understanding of this national curriculum. Because S2 emphasizes an understanding throughout the 12 years of education. So even a high school teacher, senior high school teacher, had to have an understanding of what junior high school teachers are supposed to teach, have an understanding of what elementary school teachers are supposed to teach, so that they know they can see the big picture. And to her, this is the part that is very important. So she said that 纵向分析, I'm just going to read the underlined part. It says 在各个年段学习内容学习表现是什么？你把这个 picture 先架构好，这样国中老师才知道我为什么要教这个。我这个如果教得好，学生到高中就可以做什么，老师就会有 step 上去。She thinks that this is an element in S2 that helps her tremendously in achieving a true understanding of the national curriculum. So that was my first finding. The second finding, this has to do with her sense of self now. This understanding of the national curriculum guidelines give her a sense of mastery, right? Before she knew about S2, she often questioned herself. What has she been teaching for the past 20 years? And because of the training of S2, it made her realize that actually a teacher has to be an expert. You have to be the master of your domain. So I need you to help me again with the whole thing, please. Thank you. 像我们看得到吗？不好意思，字有点小。
像我们在中学教书，我会觉得如果常常跟数学老师、自然科老师比起来，我会发现我很空，因为数学那个 knowledge 本身就很雄厚，自然科那个 knowledge 本身就很雄厚，然后我会觉得我好像教书教了20多年，我在干嘛？会有这种非常空的感觉，单字、句型、片语，我好像不知道我在职场上我在做什么，我会觉得自己非常非常的不专业。好啊，那你说以英文单字这些 GRE 单字已经拼不出来，太难了，已经受不了了。你也可以每天去看那些很难的文章、很理论的书。我觉得没有时间跟空间机会去做一些很深刻的阅读。做了一个英文老师，到底英文老师的专业是什么？我觉得很心虚，我也不太知道我到底教了什么。这些东西好像过去不会出现在高中的英语教学里面，因为我会觉得学校现场其实是非常被教科书绑架的，考试导向的，学测导向。目前就是这几家厂商的教科书，每一年都用选书。我们在新课纲里面有 Power 可以自编教材，可是那也是非常庞大的工作。我觉得没有老师有时间做，而且需要月考。学校的排名有些制度上有些限制，不是说我一个人自己的班级，我想干嘛就可以干嘛。
Thank you so much. So in other words, it means that without having to create something big from scratch, she thinks that S2 provides her a really good middle ground where she can still be creative and becoming an expert of the keyword that she selected, but doesn't have to teach everything from scratch. She can still rely on the national curriculum and pick a word that she wants to learn about and become an expert in it. And this is a great thing because it gave her a sense of mastery. And she said that to her, this is what she said. She said that Lu老师 taught her that she's like, just like 律师, they should know 律法全书, 建筑师 should know about how to draw 蓝图. In her opinion, the teacher 她说 Common Core Standards 这一件事情虽然没有写得那么好，但是这个就是国家给你的权利，这个你不是英文老师。So she thinks that the national curriculum is like a weapon, it's like a tool that the country give us English teachers to do our job well. And so this is the reason why step 1 of S2 should definitely start with understanding the knowledge that you want to teach, because it then is a great starting point. And so she thinks that the 8宫格, the grid, is the key for her to 解决这个核心知识. So that was my second finding. My third finding is, okay, so S2 allows her to understand the national curriculum. It makes her feel like, okay, I have finally become an expert after 20 years of teaching. But most importantly, when I observe her, when I talk to her, I think that people who do not give up on S2, they are the people who find joy in learning. She said that throughout her, because she's known S2 for 5 years, many colleagues who started the S2 journey with her have quit, and this is not surprising, right? I mean, every summer a professor will train hundreds of teachers, but how many people end up really using this system? Some colleagues do not even care about the national curriculum much at all, because as you know, if you have a full-time job, you don't really need to care about lingua. You're not going to lose your job. And nobody's going to give you a bad evaluation, because there's no teaching evaluation in high school. And so when I asked her why she was so willing to spend the time and effort on S2, which really is time-consuming, if you have been through an S2 training, you know that. She said this. She said, 它一定是 time-consuming. Lu 老师 told her that education reform 是一个宁静的革命. So in her opinion, 其实108课纲是给老师的. And this is the part I underline. 老师必须要在被教育才能够去使用课纲去教育人家。 So this is a key point to her, which is that she accepts the fact that she doesn't know much, and she's willing to be taught to use this national curriculum well. So to me, I think that this is a really key finding here. It's not just about knowing the national curriculum or anything. It triggers in her again, like after 20 years of working, this sense of there's something I need to learn, and this thing is important. So another thing that she told me that is related to the joy of learning is this teacher was really fortunate. She is a member of a community of enthusiastic teachers led by good leadership. Before learning about S2, she was already involved with a teacher peer group, like 4 or 5 teachers in her school, who had banded together despite not getting any support from the administrative staff. These were the teachers who really cared about how to improve that teaching. And it was her team leader who applied for this 师范学校 thing. So I call this a professional learning community. And these are the words that she kept saying as throughout the interview. She said, 学新的东西真的是令人兴奋的，课设真的是让我觉得很开心. So this is a really positive feeling that she has towards learning new things. And S2 it happens to be one of the new things that she learned that later stick because she understands the importance of it. So I'd like to conclude by leading the findings to this paper by Bernie and Leah Naj, who made a claim that a professional English teacher has a strong sense of teacher agency. Agency means an individual's capacity to plan and enact change, direct and regulate their actions. And so teachers' agency as learners is crucial for the professional development and institutional efficacy. 2, teachers' interaction with professional development are shaped and determined primarily by their individual goals and motivation for wanting to develop professionally. These are mediated by interaction within their professional learning community. So it comes from within themselves, but then facilitated by the positive, virtuous cycle of the people around them. And because if you've been through S2 training, you know that we get peer feedback, right? And this thing, it leads to independent professionalism. So because I only had one person so far, the 3 findings that I reported to you today are actually my 3 hypotheses. So I need to collect data from the remaining master teachers to confirm or challenge these hypotheses. No matter what, I myself also think that the S2 has a positive role for continual professional development for in-service teachers. What I want to see is how S2 can facilitate English teachers to, how can I say this? You know, if you got training in TESOL, you learn principles of good language teaching, and it's called communicative language teaching. But this teacher, she's never received such training, but if you see the way she teaches, in a way it's like S2 kind of nurtures her into becoming a teacher who is not just teaching through a list of vocabulary and grammar. So I want to see that connection between teaching students to achieve real communicative skills as a result of S2. And I hope that I can find the contribution of the S2 system to professionalism, professional development of English teachers in Taiwan. That's it. Thank you very much.